Okay, all right. We should be recording. So, good evening. If you don't know me already, my name is Erin Coman. I'm the Director of Residential Education and Housing Services here at Concordia, and I partner really closely with our faculty and staff and residents, as well as the resident assistants of our living learning communities. So tonight we just want to welcome you to our annual open house and tell you a little bit more about each community and what you could expect if you sign up to live on campus and in the dorms and specifically in the quads for this upcoming year. So what's an LLC? You might be asking how this is different than signing up to live in any of our other residence halls. What makes our LLCs unique is an opportunity to sign up to live with students who share common interests. So each community has a mission statement and specific activities and programs that are tailored to their community. So if you're signing up to live there, we can hope that the other students that signed up to live there are ready to actively participate with you and attend those events. You also have a ready-made support system of peers, faculty, and staff. This is really important, especially if you haven't lived on campus before. A living learning community can be a great place to start. It'll be a guarantee that you'll meet new people right off the bat and feel like there's a lot of ways that you can jump in and get involved at Concordia within the first month of school. Another thing that makes our LLCs unique is the faculty mentorship. So we have faculty and staff that are here tonight to speak to you. They live on campus with their families, and one faculty member represents each living learning community. And they're here to pour into you and expand your views and your knowledge of different topics and help you to grow while you're here as a student. So if you're curious about the layout of quads and you're only familiar with our Rho and Sigma style suites, this is a little overview of what the dorms look like in the quads. You'll notice that it's a 2-bedroom. There are 2 students per bedroom, so you'll be living with up to in a room of up to 4. And there's a 2-sink bathroom with a shower and toilet area and a lot of good storage and counter space, a little bit different than Rho and Sigma as well. You'll also have a kitchenette with a full-size fridge and counter space and sink. Not all rooms have oven and stoves, but we do allow certain appliances due to that counter space that you have available to you. Each bedroom is fully furnished and there is a shareable closet space. Not all living rooms are equipped with furniture already. So our students like to design those themselves, bring in sofas or chairs or TVs and stands. All right, I'm gonna let Dr. Koenig and our RA Corey take it away with Bella Amore.
Awesome. I'm Dr. Koenig. Corey can unmute and do a shout out too.
Hi.
Corey is our RA this year and she's returning next year. It's just somewhere that I love to be. I'm a professor here who teaches sociology in the behavioral science program. Behavioral science is human behavior. So several years ago, I was asked to live on campus, and honestly, it's probably one of those more transformative moments I've ever had as an adult. And so I do hope that we also have that for our students that come into any of the LLCs. I love the community that we create both at Bella Amore, but also just in the upper quads in general. And if you have ever had me for class, which I know at least one of you are in a current class, I love it because it's just an informal opportunity to continue the conversation that we might pick up on in a classroom, or it's in the zeitgeist. Last night we were at an event actually at Global Village, and a student said, "Hey, I have a couple of questions for you," and it's a student I had never met before. And we ended up in like an hour and a half, really pretty deep discussion about a lot of pretty dark things that are happening in the news. And it's like I think all of us like to come alongside our students as they're thinking and parsing out what's happening in the world, what their majors are, where they're going. And I really think that's what we try to do in Bella Amore. It is a community of women, and most of these women are they have ambitions, and that's something that we like to go ahead and let women know that you can be academically engaged, but you also have multiple vocations. You can be a mom, you can be a daughter. Being engaged in critical thinking doesn't mean that you just have to go on for a PhD. And I think we try to model that kind of conversation in Bella Amore. I think our seminal things are taco talks, where we invite colleagues from across the campus to talk about things that are happening. If you're interested in going to one of those, the next one is Dr. John Liu on Tuesday night at 5 o'clock to 6:30. And he's going on sabbatical next year. So it's kind of like the last chance, if you're a behavioral science major, to get a lecture from Dr. Liu. And again, his whole kind of way of thinking is to try to help students understand that they are thinkers, they can change their life, and they can change their life in small ways using social psychological research. So that's, if you want to kind of just check out what we do, that's at 5 o'clock this coming Tuesday. And Corey has just been an incredible RA, and she's returning next year. So she can maybe like quickly speak from a student perspective what it's like to live up at Bella.
Yeah, so I mean, Dr. Koenig hit a lot of great things that I think really embody what Bella is like. Yeah, I think it's just a really inviting community. Dr. Koenig and her family are super nice and friendly and always just saying hi to students as they come in and out of the dorms. And they're just a really good support to us, which is so great. And yeah, so we just have a bunch of fun events, whether there are taco talks where we invite a bunch of different professors to speak on a variety of different topics. So at some point, there will be something that'll interest you. Um, so those are really nice, just to get to meet more professors that you wouldn't normally meet. I think I've gotten to know a lot more professors and just really get to think about some contemporary issues that I haven't really thought about before. So those are cool. And then we also just have some informal events that I kind of take the lead on. And some annual ones we do are Color Me Calm and Lego Your Stress. So those are really fun ways just to get to meet people and hang out with other residents and yeah, just kind of de-stress a little bit from the craziness of classes and everyday life. So yeah, we would love to have you guys next year. So definitely think about applying.
I was going to talk a little bit about the trips, but then also just the relationships that Global Village is all about. So I've been able to help plan. I was a participant going to the Grand Canyon in my sophomore year, so 2018, 2019. Really got to see what Global Village was all about. So definitely, even if you aren't a part of Global Village, still join us for our trips. We are going to Joshua Tree this weekend, so a lot of people that aren't a part of our hall are still able to come. So if you decide to live somewhere else, that is totally okay, but still join us. So that's just been a lot of fun, a lot of quality time with a lot of people that you don't normally hang out with, and a lot of fun people you get to meet and you get to hang out with, get to make a lot of memories, even if you just met. So that's been a really fun blessing personally, and I know other people have shared that as well. But yeah, I think just the best memories I've had of Global Village have been when we're just able to sit around a table. And I mean, even if it's not eating, last year before COVID, COVID sort of put a damper on this, but it does still happen. Of just sitting after class and maybe doing homework, and then people just slowly start to join you. And I got to get really close with a lot of my residents that way. And some have become amazing friends. One I was just texting with, who was here for only a semester from Germany, and he left, visited the next semester because he made such great relationships. That was actually like the week the world shut down. So that was a great time. But then I was just texting with him today because Global Village has been a big part of our story of just meeting people, building friendships. And I still write postcards to one of my other friends in Italy. And so if you you get what you pour in. And it's just been a great way to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet and talk about things that you normally don't talk about. Yeah, love Gold Village. Next year, because I'm graduating next year, we have a new RA coming in, Rebecca Caesar, who is going to continue this. And she also has this kind of passion. So she'll be helping out with trips and everything like that. That's been one thing that I've been able to help with leading some of the trips and doing some of the administration with that too.
All right, Dr. Mallinson and Zoe.
Well, I'll start and welcome everyone, and I'll introduce myself. I'm Dr. Jeff Mallinson. I am the chair and professor of history and political thought, and my wife and I are just really excited to be able to do this honors LLC experience, primarily because my youngest just graduated last year in from Uni High School down the way, and he's now supposedly he's at UC Santa Cruz doing computer science, but he's doing it from Concordia's a bedroom in Concordia, where he kind of hides out, you know. And the fun though for us is once we kick that kid out, this is now an opportunity for my wife and I to have a lot of that mom and dad extra energy. So if you see us overworking ourselves, it's not really overwork, because it's not like stuff that we don't want to do in our lives, and we just happen to do it, a lot of these things already, and we're going to bring it to Honors LLC, in addition to things that we wouldn't have normally done, but we have time for a little bit more because of the kids being out of the house, which is a guy in my mid to late 40s. It's pretty nice, right? I started young, the kids are doing well, and so now we're just really enjoying investing our lives in students and their success. And I'd say that one of my favorite things about all of the LLCs, but certainly something important for many people who would be interested in honors, is that one of the things that we can do through this process is get a little bit extra fodder for letters of recommendation. And this is something that not everybody gets to have. If you go to a large state school that doesn't necessarily have enough time for you to interact with a professor, we get to see you interacting with people. We get to see you playing nice with others in intense academic conversations. And those are the kinds of things, whether you know it now or not, that's what they ask us when I'm filling out a grad school app or a recommendation for you, which is very often not something I could have answered just by having you in one class. We can see you now in these classes outside of the class. And that is really what's important to, I think, all of the FERS. We have enjoyed the learning that happens outside of the classroom as much, if not more, than the stuff that was in the classroom. So if you're here to learn, this is the place for you, Honors LLC. I mean, if you're there, to really to go that extra mile, to squeeze that extra bit out of what you're learning. But I would say there's two things that I don't want it to be, or I hope that we can be very clear on for our community. And one is, we're not really just the brainiacs that are looking down our noses at everybody, but rather we see what Honors is doing to amplify, to catalyze a lot of cool stuff that's already happened on campus. And we do that in a very concrete way. And that is, there's this podcast I hope you know about, but it's Cui Bono Cast. You can go to cui.edu/Cui Bono Cast, CUIBONOCAST. And we're getting off to a fun start, but everything's been difficult because we're recording all this stuff outside because we can't be in the studio a lot. Although we do, especially Dr. Kargas has a lot of those in-studio conversations. But I'm a little bit behind right now because originally when we had set up before COVID, I had a couple students lined up that were going to be residents that wanted to apprentice in this way, so that we would be working on content and producing a podcast. We're going to be working not only on that for next year, but we're also going to be working with a few other departments and something that's going to be a class in my one of my history classes. That is a local history project that surrounds the picture that you see there. That's my wife and I own this property in San Diego. There's this history there. There's petroglyphs, in Native American petroglyphs. So we're going to have a small but enjoyable interdisciplinary team, and then we're going to bring that back to the Honors Lounge, where we're going to throw, papers up, butcher paper up on the wall, and we're going to start working on an actual critical edition where honors students and others will have at least the opportunity to have their names on a book that's going to have, they're going to be research, research components of what this is. And so I'm hoping that, again, it's not that you think of Honors LLC as just this clique of the smarty pantses and the arrogant intellectuals, but rather that we're seeing that this is something that we bring to the table. Just like the drama folks, the people in theater do something I wish I would be able to have time to do, but in this case, I don't. But a college needs theater, a college needs music, a college needs the spiritual life. And so we just want to be a part of that thing that says, hey, we're also here for engaging intellectual conversation. But I also don't want it to be where you think you're coming to Honors LLC just to get extra homework and no grade. So there's part of that. But you'll actually notice I probably did a little bit too much of this because I was tired myself a little bit of thinking about just grinding through more content. We had stimulating, but maybe a little more playful conversation with, for instance, a comedian who talked about her experience in evangelicalism. We had a poet and hip hop artist who talked about, ways to rethink the curriculum. And then just a few days ago, we had a local journalist and food writer. So it's not as if it's only going to be extra esoteric, heady stuff. It will be that, but we also want to care for our scholars, and that's holistic. So a lot of the things we do in addition that are just kind of things that my wife and I care about, like my wife does stretching with Jesus, which is yin yoga and contemplative prayer for everybody. But the reason we do it is because we know that some people are getting overloaded. It's all just cognitive and we need to get in touch with our bodies. On Monday nights, we'll have a book study. Often it's spiritually driven, but concretely, valuable. We started out last year or last semester. Our book study on Monday nights was on the teachings of Jesus and how they can help us to get free from manipulative people who come in the name of Jesus. And then this term, we're in collaboration with the Black Student Union on Monday nights, and Dr. Koenig joins us as well, where we have a conversation about race in America, and ultimately by the end of the semester, what could we do to do something positive about our own community, right? About Concordia. So that's that idea, to study, but not study just to get smart, but to do something smart and to serve the community. I hope it's something that you might consider, just to get that encouragement, that camaraderie with people that are going to sharpen you and encourage you not to necessarily slack off when you're doing all that extra work. And Zoe's been so great, especially because I'm new and Zoe is a veteran. Zoe, do you want to add anything about what the hall is and what it's meant to you?
Yeah, I have been the RA here for, this is my third year now, graduating. And it's honestly just been an amazing experience. I lived in Rowe freshman year, which was so fun. But to move into uppers and be able to live with like-minded students, both in the honors program and not, but who were all interested in having this academic conversation outside of the classroom, was such an invigorating experience for me. Working with the Mallinsons has been amazing this year. So involved, so enthusiastic. And have just really made this a really great experience for me. So I recommend it to everyone I talk to. I've really not just enjoyed it from an academic perspective, but also from the relationships I've formed.
Thank you, Zoe and Dr. Mallinson. And now Pastor Anderson and Abby.
Well, it is good to chat with you about all this. Some of the themes of Wittenberg Hall, it is connection with faith and fill in the blank. right? And that fill in the blank is with anything and everything. And so the kind of starting concept was this, that we often live in a world and in our own lives where everything is compartmentalized, right? So you go to this maybe activity, then that class, and then there's this subject matter. But of course, as we understand these things, that they're all interconnected. And so how do we encourage dialogue and conversation about how faith is impacted by all those things and how those things kind of impact our faith? For an example of that, we're going to be having a talk coming up with Dr. Stigmeyer, who is an expert in bioethics as well as a pastor, and he's going to be talking about kind of, well, what are some of the ethics of genetic engineering and what that means for us, and how do we wrestle with these aren't easy things that we wrestle with, they're really challenging things, but there's a lot of great wisdom that we can gather. And part of that is, as was already mentioned time and time again, gathered in the context of the community that we have here in Upper Quads with all these LLCs. And that kind of is a vein that runs through in Wittenberg as well. So those are some of the pieces. Again, like everyone has been saying, a lot of it is centered around food. Maybe the model, since we're talking about Wittenberg, is Luther used to have these table talks where students would come and gather with his family, and right, wisdom would come out of the midst of dialogue and conversation about these sorts of things. Well, that's kind of the concept. And so we have things like brats and profs and events like that. So food is always at the center when we're able to make that happen, of time and conversation. And it's supposed to be in many ways things that overlap with what you're doing in the classroom experiences. But again, as it already has been mentioned, not with those more formal academic settings, right? But simply in the ability to have dialogue and conversation, and to allow that dialogue and conversation to even have permission to go down rabbit trails that maybe don't normally get to happen in the midst of a classroom lecture, for example. Again, a big blessing, I think, has been obviously for my family to come and be a part of it and get to know all the students and be invested in that. But I also think in many ways a great blessing for the students is to be able to interact with my family as well. If you get a chance to meet my wife or my kids, a lot of friendliness and conversation and dialogue, and they love being able to pour into the lives of the students. And so just to be kind of wrapped up in the midst, like this is our home, this is our community, this is our family, and we love being able to invite the students into that. We have a wonderful and fabulous RA in Abby this year, and she's going to be continuing with us again next year, so we're totally excited about that. And so Abby, I want to just hand it over to you and let you speak to anything that I know I missed.
Awesome. Yes, I'm Abby. I'm currently a second year sophomore, and I'm coming back again next year. And some things that I'm looking forward to next year is just the great community. We're all so passionate about growing in our faith. We all come from different walks where I have various sports, various different passions, all within our hall, and we all come together and hold each other accountable to walk in our faith together and to engage in these different various dialogues and discussions together. Some of my highlights of this year are our service projects. We teamed up with Project Linus to make these blankets that we gave to sick children in hospitals. We have also made some yard signs to put around campus to give some encouragement. And I just really love all of the discussions and obviously the interactions with Pastor Anderson and his family, just having Hopi running around singing various songs. It just reminds you that you should be a kid at heart.
Thank you so much to our faculty and to the resident assistants for sharing and being here tonight to connect with our students. If we've sold you on why you want to be a part of our community, I just want to touch base with you on a little bit of our process and what you need to do to apply to join us next fall. There are 2 applications that you need to complete. You need to complete the housing application through the eRes Life website. I've included the link in the chat already for you to copy and paste into your browser. It's also on the Res website. And then additionally, you'll need to complete the LLC application. It's just a brief Google form where you can share with us why you want to be a part of which community appeals to you. And these applications are due on April 1st, so next Thursday. So if you can get those in and submitted for our committee to review prior to leaving for Easter break, the sooner you complete the process, the sooner I can send an email back to you on the status of your application. I'm planning to email everybody back by Monday the 5th. And once your application's approved, then you'll be eligible for our room selection process. So just a tip for you, once you know the peers that you'd like to live with, make sure that everybody turns in their application on time so that you can partake in room selection together. And if you don't have a roommate group, and you're interested in the LLCs, still apply. And if we have openings, I will reach out to you about that process. And I can also send you a personal invitation to our Zoom roommate mixer for students who are looking to complete their roommate group and find other peers with common interests. And just keep in mind that applications are first come, first serve. We only have so many spaces in each LLC community. So another motivator to get your application done as soon as you can. And if you have any questions at this time, I'm going to stop recording, and you're welcome to put questions in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask any of our faculty or RAs about their community.